Hey guys, welcome to Neat Movie News. My name is Dean Thomas.
His name is Dean. We like Dean.
And a movie that's getting a ton of Oscar buzz around Natalie Portman is the more or less biopic of Jackie Kennedy, simply titled Jackie.
I believe that the characters we read about on the page end up being more real than the men who stand beside us.
Now, all I have heard about this movie is just how good Natalie Portman is as Jackie Kennedy. And I'm here to tell you that she is incredible. Now, this movie is not your traditional biopic. This isn't like how she grew up, how she met JFK, and then through his assassination, on and on. This movie more or less tells you small snippets here and there before the assassination of JFK, and then it shows you it sort of shows the assassination through her eyes, and then but the majority of this movie is just kind of that week leading up to JFK's funeral, and also the big famous article where the whole deal with Camelot came out. So it's a very brief short amount of time where you really kind of just get to know Jackie and all the things she was dealing with through that time period. And that's what's kind of incredible because first of all, Jackie Kennedy had that very distinct way of talking, very distinct mannerisms, and Natalie Portman nailed those. It could have been one of those things where it became like, wow, she's just doing an impression, but it felt natural. She felt like she truly was Jackie Kennedy. And I think one of the best things this movie did is where a lot of people look at the assassination of JFK as, well, we lost a great president and a great man. But this movie really shows you that something that we forget, and that's what a woman had to watch her husband, and to not sugarcoat it at all, watch her husband's head get blown off a foot from her, and then ride to the hospital covered in his blood with his dead body laying on her. That's just such a shocking thing that I think some people tend to forget, and I'm probably guilty of that myself. But this really just shows you that, and it's kind of, you really get to understand her pain. You see how much shock she's kind of in, and yet all the decisions she suddenly thinks she has to make and does have to make. And that's what's really really great about her performance is even just within her eyes alone, you see that her mind is just racing, the thousands of thoughts that are going through her mind trying to figure it all out while trying to get through this giant amount of pain she's in, the suffering, the sorrow. And it's really that performance that just brings you through the movie, because the movie is a slow moving drama. You're not witnessing the assassination. That's not the highlight of this movie. It's not some big tension filled. No, it's simply just her dealing with all this pain, the decision she has to make, the fact that she's afraid her husband will just be forgotten with like other presidents that had been forgotten in the past. And I think my point is proven by I don't remember even those presidents' names that had been assassinated while in office, but they were forgotten. So she's very much keen on trying to make her husband like Abraham Lincoln, the way he was assassinated, and it really became a huge part of his legacy and all the things that he did. And that's a huge part of who her character is. She's all about image, and I don't mean image of like she wants to look good and look pretty, but how she presents herself and her family to the media, to the world, and the sort of message that sends. And she's very, very intelligent about that. You realize how just strategic she was, but how incredibly smart she was to go, no, I'm going to continue wearing the outfit that I was wearing today with covered in the blood because I want that to be the message that the American people see on TV. So you really get to understand who Jackie Kennedy was even through this short amount of time, and it's really just it's captivating because the movie is slow. And yet I was never really bored because I was so captivated by what Natalie Portman was doing in her performance, even if she wasn't saying anything. Like I said, you could see everything going on in her mind just through her eyes and through her body, and that was just it really is one of the best performances of the year, and she is a lock for an Oscar nomination, and she would be my odds-on favorite to win the Oscar this year as of right now. And it really was a movie that I was going in, okay, I'm curious, I'm hearing a lot of great things, but the performance blew me away, to be honest with you. Now there are a couple things in the movie that I didn't necessarily love. Some of the explanation of the people and the characters working around her aren't fully explained. So if you're like me and aren't fully, into the lore, or not, I don't know if it's the lore, but the history and all the people she had to deal with, all the politicians and the inner workings of politics, you don't really, if you don't know who those people are, it won't necessarily take away from the movie anything, but you might be a little lost and confused and go, okay, what was their role overall, or who really is this person? Where you might recognize the name like I did, but you don't really know too much about them. Like, and as I said, well, I was definitely captivated throughout the entire movie. It could be a little slow here and there, where it was a little, I don't want to say dull, but it was just so slowly paced that you kind of wanted just to pick up just a little bit. And then the last thing I will say is Peter Sarsgaard, who played Bobby Kennedy in the movie. I thought he was miscast. I don't know that much about Bobby Kennedy overall, but the little bit I do know is Peter Sarsgaard. While he's not bad in the movie, it just didn't feel like Bobby Kennedy, and I think he was kind of just miscast, and it didn't really work for me as him playing that character. But overall, this movie is a really captivating movie. There's a lot of interesting things going on. And if you're like me and didn't know much about Jackie Kennedy, I learned a lot. I was just enthralled by her. She's almost like this mythic character in within our culture, the American culture, and you kind of understand why in this movie. Portman's performance in this movie is one of the best I've seen. Definitely, probably for me, the best I've seen this year. So she's definitely an Oscar lock for a nomination, that is. And for me, I'm going to go pretty high with the score. I'm going to give it an 88% for Jackie. It really is a movie that if you don't know much about Jackie Kennedy, or if you're interested in her or the whole JFK kind of that time period between his assassination and his funeral, this is a movie that I definitely think you can enjoy. Like I said, it's a little slow and I can see some people getting bored, but Portman's performance is so good that I think it'll keep you interested in what's going on in the movie. Where there you guys have it, that is my review of Jackie. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Neat Movie News for all the latest in the world of movies. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you back here next time.